I think 10,000x is the meme. And
Yeah.
I'll frame it like this. I'll say that you got to keep in mind that 10,000x, Hex did 10,000x from the all-time low to the all-time high. That was not on launch. That was not on day one. So if the question is, will PulseChain do a 10,000x from its day one price? That didn't happen to Hex. So I would say it's unlikely for PulseChain. But every time everything launches in crypto, there's this euphoria, there's this new thing, there's this shiny object. And I think that may last longer than most crypto stuff with PulseChain because we've been waiting on it, so long now, and there's so many people involved and so much capital involved. But eventually,
more eyes on it.
More eyes, yeah. Eventually, it has to dump. So what that all-time low will be once it dumps for the very first time, that seems like, if you look at Hex's chart stuff, that seems like the best time. If you would have bought Hex when it dumped at the first time, that was when it hit an all-time low. I think it was like 13 days or something like that afterwards. I can't remember the exact number, or 39 days, something like that. So will PulseChain do 10,000x from its all-time lows? I think it has every opportunity to do what Hex did. I mean, some people say it's different. Some people say, oh, it can't do what Hex did because there's too many people in it now. But you launch in a bear market. So when it dumps, it's going to dump. I mean, like, I don't know. So there's all these other caveats too. Like, will it even dump? I've talked to people and they say, some people don't even think the PulseChain price will dump, or it'll take a lot longer to dump because there's so many people waiting to buy it the first, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, maybe something like that.
Do you think it's going to dump below the sacrifice phase?
That's a great question. If it does, it
please say yes. Please say yes.
Day one. That's the thing. That's the question is, like, will people let it go below that? If it's launching in a bear market, it's more likely people will, because there gonna be a lot of people selling it, but there's also gonna be a lot of people buying it. So that's the conundrum, is like, there's so many people with dry powder who can't wait to get more PulseChain, and there's so many people who have no liquidity who can't wait to get that liquidity and sell a good portion of their bag. So will those two equal it out and it won't go below the SAC price? I think if any new crypto has a chance to do things that has never happened before in an unbelievably positive way, it's PulseChain. Will it continue? So I think the question nobody's asking is, what's PulseChain going to be in a year or two, or how is it going to react to the new bear market in 2026? Everyone's like, oh, when it launches, what X is going to be? How long until to get 10,000X? 2 years, all this stuff. What about the next bear market? How will the community continue to grow? And will it be the shiny, will it do what Hex was supposed to do? Like, Hex was supposed to be a decorrelated asset. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, it's decorrelated. Don't care about the bear market. It's not going to do what Bitcoin's going to do. Well, a lot of people had a lot of conviction, speaking that, and it made a lot of sense. There's a lot of good ways you could say that too, but it didn't. It went down 95%, or so. Will PulseChain in 2026, assuming that's the next, the top of the bull, 2025-ish, next bear is 2026, will it dump 95%, or will it be dump 20% and it be the shining, like, whoa, all this capital is super safe in this product called PulseChain, and maybe PulseX, maybe Hex is stronger than too. I mean, it has to be stronger by that point, I imagine. That's the question nobody's really talking about. Like, what's going to happen the next market cycle? Will PulseChain be that clear winner? Or will it just be, another one that's you get a really good deal buying and until the next run? So I'm kind of looking like 5 to 10 years out on some of this stuff, because I think that's the question nobody's talking about.
So if I could press you with the question that nobody's talking about it, what do you think? If you have to pick one, I know there's really no way of knowing, and that's
like, what's the regulatory environment going to be in 5 years? Like, there's so many questions where I'm like, is this the last chance for mad gains? Like in America, at least. Like, maybe I think in Singapore, maybe it's like that for another 10 years. But like in America, are we going to have this Wild West in crypto? Are they going to clamp down on it? Like, that's what's kind of hard to make a decisive decision on that.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. There are a lot of variables that can play out in one way or the other, which would influence as to how the situation would play out. Meaning
But the cool thing about
regulation.
Hex is, the cool thing about RH products too is I don't see them becoming Bitcoin anytime soon. I mean, eventually Hex will become that. Okay, if you invest in 2030, you're not expecting a 10,000x anymore. You're expecting you're expecting more traditional, like you're expecting Bitcoin's X's, right? You know, 2, 3, 4, 5x. I see Hex becoming that.
But the yield is always there, though. Like,
but the yield's always there. Yeah, exactly. You're not factoring in the price appreciation as much as you used to, especially in the early days. But PulseChain, like PulseX, they got a lot of deflationary aspects about them. They got a lot of, different things going on than Hex. What do they do if there's less of them?